In 1975, Sylvester Stallone is living in slow-motion freefall. He eats cheap, sleeps cheaper, and drags around a screenplay about a nobody boxer who refuses to stay down. The spark hits after he watches Muhammad Ali fight Chuck Wepner on March 24, 1975. Wepner, the underdog, lasts 15 rounds with the greatest fighter on the planet, gets knocked down, keeps getting back up, and quietly becomes the blueprint for Rocky Balboa without ever being named on screen. Stallone finishes the Rocky script in about 3.5 days, not because he's rushing his craft, but because he knows timing is the only thing more important than talent. The script hits studio desks, and the reaction is instant. Offers start low and climb fast. $125,000, $250,000, eventually $340,000. There's just one condition: he cannot play Rocky. They'll buy the story, but they want a star. Redford, Reynolds, Khan. Pick a name, take the money, walk away. He refuses. Every time. Not politely, not with strategy decks and agent's notes, but from the gut. Because in his head, Rocky has to look like struggle, not like someone already on a poster. Agents tell him he's insane. This is his one shot, the big payday he'll never see again. He takes the risk anyway. Eventually, the studio blinks. They give him the role, but take their revenge on the budget. If Stallone gets to be Rocky, Rocky will be made for almost nothing. A signature on the contract means he's the lead. It also means the film is now hanging by a financial thread. The next problem looks impossible on paper. 9. Underdog budget, blockbuster hit. Made for under $1 million, Rocky explodes to $225 million and flips Hollywood logic on its head. Hollywood measures success in scale. Rocky measures it in hunger. One side brings money, one side brings teeth. Guess which one lasts? United Artists approves the film with a budget officially reported at around $960,000. To understand how small that is in 1976, look at The Neighbors. Jaws costs $9 million. King Kong costs $24 million. Rocky costs less than a fraction of the craft services bill on most major productions. The goal is no longer perfection. The goal is finishing alive. Shooting moves faster than paperwork. Locations get negotiated in minutes. Camera setups double as lighting setups. Retakes disappear unless someone forgets a line or gets hit too hard for real. Some scenes get blocked while the public watches, not because the filmmakers want extras, but because they simply lack the authority to move them away. The gamble looks borderline irresponsible until release week. Then the impossible math starts stacking. Rocky opens small, spreads fast, and detonates long. The final global box office landed at roughly $225 million, making its return on investment one of the biggest in film history at that time. Critics respond, audiences respond louder. Within months, the impossible script written by a broken actor becomes a world phenomenon. And while Hollywood debates how it happened, Philadelphia already has questions of its own. 8. Philly's illegal run. The Philly street running scenes are shot illegally. No permits, no crowd control, pure chaos. There is no permit. There are no road closures. There is no plan B. There is only Stallone sprinting through Philadelphia like consequences work late. The running scenes become the soul of the film, but the city never approves them. The production lacks money to request permission and lacks time to wait for permission. So the crew grabs a camera, moves like tourists, and hopes the city treats them like background noise. Stallone runs through real traffic, past confused commuters, around buses that cannot stop, and over sidewalks not warned in advance. No staged crowds cheer him on. Every reaction you see comes from actual strangers seeing a man in a gray sweatsuit sprint like a heartbreak is chasing him. Some pedestrians smile, some stare, some accidentally become part of film history without learning their role until years later. The city functions as a live set that no one controls. That rawness becomes the spark major studios spend millions trying to simulate and never quite replicate. Cops pass by. No one shuts it down. The biggest risk of the movie never comes from the boxing ring. It comes from traffic lights, pedestrians, and pure unpredictability. Philadelphia gives the movie realism money can never purchase, and the next unscripted star walks on 4 legs. 7. Stallone's real dog. Butkus Rocky's dog. Butkus is Stallone's real dog, written in because he couldn't afford dog food. The dog in the movie shares a screen name, a home, and a paycheck. Except only one of them gets paid. Butkus, the 140-pound bull mastiff in Rocky, belongs to Stallone in real life. He adds the dog into the script because leaving him out feels emotionally dishonest. But there is a more painful truth behind it. When Stallone runs out of money before selling the script, he runs out of dog food first. The dog never gets to choose the sacrifice, so Stallone remembers it forever. At his lowest point, he sells Butkus outside a 7-Eleven for $50 because survival forces a choice no artist ever wants to make. When the studio finally accepts the deal allowing him to play Rocky, he returns to the same corner, finds the buyer, and pays $3,000 to get his dog back, 60 times more than he received. Pride is expensive, regret costs more. Butkus goes straight from financial heartbreak to cinematic immortality. The scenes between Rocky and his dog land harder because Stallone knows they are real. No acting lesson teaches the language of losing and reclaiming loyalty. Every interaction on screen carries the weight of a story no script had to exaggerate. But loyalty is not the only detail rewritten later. 6. Rocky's Lost. First draft. The first draft has a different Rocky, a different Adrian, and a shockingly different ending Rocky. Balboa begins life with another name and another destiny. The version you love survives the editing war, not the first draft. In the earliest script, the character is called Robert Balboa, not Rocky. Adrian starts as Jewish instead of shy, quiet, and socially invisible. Paulie carries different motivations. Even the ending lands differently. Rocky considers throwing the final fight not for honor or heartbreak, but for money, so he can save a pet shop. The soul of the story is present, but the stakes feel smaller, narrower, and less universal. Rewrites change everything. Rocky becomes softer, but tougher in spirit. Adrian transforms into emotional gravity instead of narrative decoration. The ending shifts from financial transaction to personal triumph. The point stops being victory and starts being identity. Losing suddenly means surviving, and surviving becomes the new win. These changes arrive before cameras roll, but after the price of failure already feels real. Every revision removes cynicism and replaces it with pulse. By the time filming begins, the underdog story carries bone and heartbeat, and then award season arrives to test history itself. 5. Double Oscar. Nod 1 movie, 2 Oscar nominations for Stallone, actor plus writer, history snapped in half. Few things shock Hollywood, but symmetry does. Even fewer artists change categories at the same time. At the 49th Academy Awards in 1977, Rocky earned 10 nominations, including Best Picture. But the headline goes to Stallone. He received 2 nominations for the same film, Best Actor and Best Original Screenplay. Before him, only Charlie Chaplin and Orson Welles achieved the same dual nomination milestone. Winning either takes decades. Landing both at once rewrites bar conversations. He loses both categories that night, which seems brutal until context arrives. Rocky wins Best Picture, Best Director for John G. Avildsen, and Best Film Editing. The film leaves the ceremony immortal, even if the trophies land in different hands. The nominations matter more than the personal loss because they certify the same truth twice. The man who wrote Rocky is the only man who could embody Rocky. Hollywood does not always reward the builder, but this time it recognizes him publicly and permanently. The movie proves something else quietly. The most powerful performance requires no costume, only exposure. And the most iconic moment of the entire film gets captured without planning. 4. The iconic steps shot. The iconic 72 steps run is unplanned, unpaid, unpermitted, and captured in one real moment. No storyboard, no rehearsal plan. One man, one staircase, one shot that changes movie history. The 72 stone steps outside the Philadelphia Museum of Art become cinema's most recognizable workout set without ever being scheduled or financed. Stallone and the crew shoot without permission and hope the museum treats them like tourists instead of trespassers. The moment works because it carries zero choreography. He is tired because he is tired. His breathing sounds heavy because the climb is real. His triumph at the top lands because the struggle is not pretend. No marketing plan invents an image that strong. It grows organically from a man running upstairs until gravity respects his insistence. Years later, tourists reenact the climb by the thousands. The museum eventually installs a Rocky statue near the steps due to cultural demand, not institutional planning. Not a dollar buys the authenticity of exhaustion turning into victory. But while the steps come free, the crowd at the final fight scene has a very different price. 3. Chicken dinner crowd. The final fight crowd shows up for free chicken dinners, not championship boxing. Promotions typically attract audiences. This crowd wants sandwiches. The strategy: pay nothing, feed everyone, film fast. The production cannot afford thousands of paid extras to pack the final boxing arena. So, the team makes a deal. Anyone who shows up gets a free chicken dinner. Real people fill the seats, not actors. The reactions you see are genuine boredom, excitement, chatter, confusion, cheering, and hunger. The crowd never studies lines because no lines exist for them. Their incentive is food, not fame. That decision accidentally solves the texture of the entire scene. The audience behaves like a real mixed crowd because it is a real mixed crowd. No director shouts emotional cues. No assistant asks for synchronized reactions. Human randomness builds more realism than a budget ever could. Sometimes the smartest production answer costs nothing and feeds everyone. But the biggest money twist waits until contracts end. 2. Salary for jackpot. Stallone trades salary for back-end points and ends up with tens of millions from a gamble. He accepts less money now to earn more money later. Everyone else calls it reckless until the receipts arrive. Instead of maximizing his on-set salary, Stallone negotiates back-end points, a percentage of future profits. It looks risky until the film becomes one of the most profitable movies of the era. As the box office climbs toward $225 million, his earnings grow from modest to massive, eventually reaching tens of millions across releases, deals, sequels, and brand expansions. The gamble works because he bets on the one variable he controls: belief. Most newcomers negotiate safety. He negotiates participation. By choosing ownership over salary, he accidentally writes the business blueprint for future actor creators who want long-term control instead of short-term applause. The smartest contract decision happens long after the loudest punch, and the most humble location becomes the final pilgrimage. 1. Rocky's Real Pet Shop. The pet shop is real, the address real, and fans still treat it like a pilgrimage site. The cameras leave. The fans stay. Some movie locations fade. This one becomes a shrine. The pet shop where Rocky meets Adrian stands at 2146 North Front Street in Philadelphia. It becomes one of the most photographed storefronts in movie history, despite never being designed for cinema tourism. Fans identify it, visit it, photograph it, and treat it like an emotional artifact. The building stops being a filming location and becomes a handshake between fiction and real life. People stand where Stallone once stood, trying to feel a moment they were not present for. That is the power of honest storytelling. The movie leaves the screen and refuses to return. Because Rocky never belonged to Hollywood budgets, scripts, or awards. He belongs to anyone who keeps climbing when gravity clearly voted against them. And that is the punchline real life never sees coming. Until next time, stay nostalgic.